So I had mentioned last night about the Alliance for Responsible Citizenship. Uh, Acronym is the ARC, A-R-C, and it's really Jordan Peterson's he's the face of it, but the funding behind it is Dubai, but the person that controls it, which is the other biggest funder, is this hedge fund investor, knighted UK guy, okay? And looking at everybody that's on their advisory board, and again, Jan Crenshaw and Speaker Mike Johnson are on the advisory board for this. And all this is people that were Democrats that realized, oh, the Democrat Party's fallen, the Socialist Party, it's all being seen. So we've got to pivot, become conservative, and then we will operate from there, which is why they went and created this, okay? Socialists don't get off their track. They don't. I don't think they can snap out of it either. Because much of the people on this advisory board are think tanks, part of different think tanks. They're former globalists. They're elites. The majority are either former UK parliamentary people. That's mostly what the board is a ton of UK. And again, this is not against the UK people. This is against the UK elite. Because I see this as something very, I think it's darker. And what they're after is to tear down America specifically. So when the woke agenda, if you want to call it, but the Democrat Party's been seen for the filth it is, has been seen for the socialism that's in all the universities. Most of your professors are socialists, okay? And this has all been part of that big disease. These people do not then see the wrongs of their ways. Not most, some of them do, like the people do. Like I know there's a lot of Democrats that have flipped sides. And yet I'll hear some of these Democrats, not the people, but some of these podcasters that, because a lot of them were Democrats. And they'll be like, well, everybody was a Democrat at one time. And it's like, no, I never was. Never. There was always something wrong with the party to me. It was very fake and phony and just bullshit. The Republicans have always been a weak party for the most part, but I think that's been deliberately designed to help the Democrat and the socialist advance, which is why our country is gotten to the place that it is. But I never was a Democrat. So, but these people, at least these people that have formed this ARC, and these podcasters, they're kind of they're all that same circle. And what I despise about what they're doing, even though everybody would say, no, this is so positive. No, they don't have good intentions. They don't. And what's really sick is it's the socialist spiel they're giving. They're just now using the Bible to do it, and yet they miss the fact that I think that if Jesus wanted us to recognize the world's going to be perfect one day, like the socialist dream, then he would have told us. But he said not to conform, right? Because he was pretty much saying it's not really going to be the dream until I return. Because you can't have it with look at these people. And this is all the educated again, okay? And the most of your higher educated, these people from the universities, okay, they didn't change. They're not going to change. Are you kidding me? They're part of the problem. That's why Trump needs to cut all their government funding. They're just. I heard this guy saying today. He was it was 2 days ago. I forget the channel, but this was perfect quote. He said, and his name is. He was giving this talk. His name is Tom DiLorenzo. He said universities are nurseries of socialism. Yeah. But he said there's always a remnant of young people who resist the status propaganda. So, the university. But that's what this advisory board is made up of. And I see them as very snobby and full of themselves. And I see them like Pharisees. I really do. I mean, Jordan Peterson has spent so many years now, complicating God's word, in my opinion, but, because he's putting all of his psychology into it, and that's why he reminds me of a Pharisee. But I also just think he's full of shit. Because, and that's why I think it's darker, because I think socialists don't want anything to do with Jesus. They just, they literally don't want to make things better. They just pretend like they want to while they destroy things. And I don't, and in order for them to do that, they need to get a control of people. So while the universities are tanking and people are seeing the truth of what that, no matter what Ivy League it is, they're disease filled with socialist professors. You have this arc that forms because they don't want to just let people be. No, you need to have the people that know best. So they get all these priests and bishops on there and they talk about faith, and it's like, what are you people doing? I can just imagine what Jesus would say to you people. And they probably would think, well, Jesus would be glad that we're spreading his word. No, I think Jesus would call you out, that you're literally trying to lead people astray. See, if Jesus wanted us to know that these are the signs to look for when everything will be utopia, then he would have told us, correct? And I don't think that means he wanted you miserable, but he did want you to always be on guard. He did. It's amazing how all the priests and bishops and all the people around Jordan Peterson that supposedly, are on board with Jesus now don't seem to understand Jesus's word. I do sit back and I pray about that. I'm like, God, maybe it's me. And like, I've cried about it. I'm like, God, I'm being oppositional and I'm being divisive. God, I do. I get us. And I pray about it. I really do, because everything they say sounds good, yet it completely is, it's trying to be God instead of letting God lead. If they wanted to truly let God lead, which I think is what America was the founding was supposed to be about, then they wouldn't form their arc. They certainly wouldn't have filled their advisory board or have their person that's controlling their organization be a socialist that wrote books about wanting to reinvent the socialist progressive party. But they're not going to change. Like, the Democrats have been found out. Everybody can see who they are. They see who the socialists are. And these people, they're good at pivoting. And so they're now using we're anti-woke now. And they're just going to use that. And then on top of it, now they're using Jesus's word to try to create another group think tank. And it's disgusting. It is. Because either they're very stupid, and yeah, all the higher educated will be on board with that. Again, that's where they go. They have to follow that herd. They love to be cattled. But what's disgraceful is how they're using Jesus's word, and there's so many Catholics, the bishops and deacons and everybody. No, that's not a surprise at all. And everything they say, it sounds good, and it's like, and they get you thinking. And so part of me sits back and like, yeah, but God, maybe this is the way you do it. You tend to turn something that's really being used for wicked into good. That's a lot of times that's what he does. But I don't know. I almost look at it like, no, this is God separating the tares. That's the tares. The wheat and the tares. You all have to grow together, the wheat and the tares, because you don't want to destroy the wheat that God's going to keep. Yeah, I think he's just putting them all over there. Because literally everybody on the majority of their advisory board is former UK parliamentary people. They're former globalists, they're former philanthropists, hedge funds, AI venture capitalists, all that bullshit. And yet they think that we're supposed to believe that, they're no longer on the socialist agenda. Well, I'm here to tell you they are. Stay away from the group think tanks. socialist hell.